She sort of shone with vitality.
Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're looking at the most disturbing details from the Rachel Nickell case.
Every belief I had about, the firmness of reality disappeared.
Alex Hanscom's recollection of his mother's murder. On July 15th, 1992, Robert Napper murdered Rachel Nickell in Wimbledon Common.
It's always had a reputation of being a safe place.
Napper reportedly stabbed Nickell 49 times before fleeing. What makes Nickell's death even more unsettling is that the only witness to this heinous crime was her young son, Alex Hanscom. His mother's murder remains a core memory for Alex, one that he's continuously relived through police questioning, his memoir, and more.
To be able to remember everything that I remembered is, it surprises me even now.
Hanscom says this traumatic event plays in his head like a silent movie, largely because he doesn't remember hearing any sounds. Yet he vividly recalls being pushed to the ground, his mother falling beside him, and the killer cleaning the blood in a stream. Alex tried to wake his mother, but she was already gone. Operation Edzell. Robert Napper was eventually convicted for Nickell's death, but the authorities spent years pursuing the wrong suspect. Colin Stagg seemed to fit the physical and psychological descriptions.
The lady who saw a man walking towards the murder scene then later picked Stagg out of an identification parade as that person.
The DNA evidence wasn't present, however. The police arranged a sting or honeytrap called Operation Edzell. Using the name Lizzie James, an undercover female officer reached out to Stagg via the Lonely Hearts Club. Communicating through letters, phone, and in person, James tried to get a confession out of Stagg by saying she enjoyed hurting people. While Stagg denied involvement in the Wimbledon Common case, he feared disappointing James, asking her not to dump him.
What the killer of Rachel Nickell had was a series of very specific elements in their fantasy that are not that common. And now Colin Stagg seems to have exactly that same set of fantasies.
Although psychologist Paul Britton viewed Stagg's sexual fantasies as violent, all Operation Edzell seemed to prove was that he was desperate for companionship.
My life has been ruined by a mixture of half-baked psychological theories and some stories written to satisfy the strange sexual requests of an undercover police officer.
The effects on Colin Stagg. Although Operation Edzell was a bust, Stagg was still charged in August 1993. Stagg was incarcerated until September 1994, when Mr. Justice Ognall swiftly dismissed the case.
It was absolute shock.
With little evidence, Ognall felt Stagg had been wrongly incriminated. Stagg was free, but he lost more than a year of his life.
I make no apologies at all for the Metropolitan Police inquiry in this case.
The accusations didn't end there either. Many remained convinced that he got away with murder, leading to intimidating letters and calls. Stagg reached a breaking point in January 1995, threatening Jamie Roberts and his son with an axe at Wimbledon Common. Following his arrest, Stagg pleaded guilty and was put on a 12-month probation. The defense argued that Stagg lost his sense of reality because his life, in short, was a complete and utter misery.
Colin Stagg has been through a version of justice, albeit truncated, and he has been found not guilty.
Lizzie James PTSD. Stagg wasn't the only one who struggled to move on from Operation Edzell. The undercover officer, still only known as Lizzie James, endured post-traumatic stress disorder.
Dear Lizzie, I'm so glad you like my letters and that you are as broad-minded and uninhibited as me.
Following the operation, which took James to some disturbing places emotionally, she'd take an 18-month leave. According to a Metropolitan Police Federation spokesperson, her career and health were wrecked as a consequence of a police operation where she was a junior officer simply obeying the orders of her superiors.
If you're not that man, and not done that kind of thing, you'll never, ever, ever be able to fulfill me.
James would retire in early 1998, pursuing legal action against the Metropolitan Police. She received £125,000 in a settlement, while Stagg was awarded £706,000 in a separate legal battle. Both were compensated, but it's hard to put a price on years of psychological torment.
I can't do it.
Yes, you can. You're inside his head. It's the hardest bit.
Yeah, but he's in mine. All the time.
The real killer was walking around free. As the authorities channeled their time and resources into Operation Edzell, Robert Napper was still out there. Napper had a few run-ins with the law during this period. In July 1993, a month before Stagg was arrested and charged, Napper was accused of being a peeping Tom.
This was a man who, as he emerged into adulthood, was literally a volcano.
He walked away after being briefly questioned though, allowing him to murder Samantha Bisset and her daughter Jazmine that November. Napper was arrested for their murders the following May, leading to his conviction in October 1995. Sent to Broadmoor Hospital, Napper might have been a patient rather than a prisoner.
And the word goes around that he's pleaded to manslaughter through diminished responsibility. There's a mixed feeling because manslaughter is not a conviction of murder. However, under the circumstances, it was obvious that he was mentally very, very ill.
Either way, he was no longer a free man. While he was paying for two unspeakable crimes, Nickell's murder went unsolved, with few connecting Napper to the case.
We're here to talk to you about Rachel Nickell. Well, you know that name, don't you, Robert?
Robert Napper's mental state. During his youth, Napper was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and the condition now known as autism spectrum disorder.
He didn't have a bed or a mattress, which I thought was strange. He slept on the floor, apparently.
Napper reportedly told his father, "The psychiatrist thinks I'm mad, Dad." Even with these early red flags, Napper's mental health didn't receive the proper treatment for much of his life, leaving others vulnerable. Following the Bisset murders, forensic psychiatrist Natalie Pashura would evaluate Napper, who reportedly told her that he won a Nobel Peace Prize, earned medals for fighting in Angola, and was targeted by the Irish Republican Army. Napper also implied that he had telepathic abilities, making him feel untouchable.
I've met Robert Napper at Broadmoor Mental Hospital, where he was on remand awaiting his trial. It was soon fairly obvious to me that he was suffering from serious delusions.
The fact that Napper's victims were all female further suggested that he carried deep hatred towards women, regardless of their age.
Why did he attack women? Why did he target mothers with children? I can't tell you because I don't know.
Robert Napper's upbringing. The eldest of 4 children, Napper grew up surrounded by violence.
And this so upset the children that they were all subjected to some counselling through children's psychiatrists. The other children seem to have got over it quite well, but Robert Napper continued to display behaviour which was unusual for a child of his age.
Napper's mother faced abuse from his father and eventually divorced. Around the same time his father left, a family friend sexually abused Napper. Although his attacker was imprisoned, Napper's mental health worsened. Napper was cruel to his brothers and sister, the latter of whom he watched undressing. All 4 entered the foster system at one point, receiving psychiatric treatment. Things weren't much better at school, where Napper was a social outcast.
He was despised at school, there's no question about that.
He was compelled to drop out at age 16, pursuing manual jobs. None of this excuses the crimes that Napper would commit going forward. Taking his background into account though, it sadly isn't surprising that Napper went down this path. The Green Chain Assaults. In addition to killing 3 people, more than 100 assaults have been potentially linked to Napper. When his history of sexual violence began is difficult to pinpoint. In 1989 though, Napper's own mother reportedly alerted the authorities that he had confessed to an assault at Plumstead Common. This fell on deaf ears, as did another report that Napper assaulted a woman in front of her kids.
As Napper's mental health deteriorated, his mother cut off contact.
Most notably, Napper was implicated in a series of assaults that took place near the Green Chain Walk. While Napper was questioned, he was deemed too tall to meet the police profile.
So basically nothing else was done.
Multiple Green Chain survivors would eventually identify Napper as their assailants. Napper ultimately confessed to at least 4 assaults, but the number may be even higher.
Napper is completely devoid of any conscience. He doesn't care about the impact of his actions on others, and that makes him a very dangerous man indeed.
The murders of Samantha and Jazmine Bisset. The death of a mother and daughter is tragic, no matter how you look at it. Knowing the exact conditions of Samantha and Jazmine's murder is utterly disheartening, however.
One night, Samantha Bisset said to her then partner, "I've seen someone at our window, looking in at the window."
Breaking into the Bisset home, Napper attacked and killed Samantha, stabbing her multiple times just as he did with Nickell. Where Nickell's son was spared, Jazmine was tormented before being smothered.
And I think this is potentially a case of him mixing up his offending, because offenders get bored.
Even after both were dead, the carnage continued as Napper removed body parts from Samantha. The police weren't prepared when they arrived at the ghastly scene.
In all my years of service, I've never seen anything so dreadful and so horrific.
The police photographer had to take 2 years sick leave due to the atrocities witnessed. Napper was arrested for the murders about 6 months later. During that time, though, Napper was arrested for shoplifting, only to be discharged. All the times Napper could have been caught. While Napper would finally be convicted for the manslaughter of Nickell in 2008, some still dwell on the suffering that could have been prevented.
What I saw in the dossier of documents was just what an utter chaotic catalogue of errors this whole investigation had been.
It's not like Napper wasn't on the authorities' radar. His criminal record stretched back to 1986, when Napper was fined for an airgun incident. Although that wasn't a serious offense, Napper was linked to assaults that occurred between 1989 and 1994. On more than one occasion, the police questioned Napper, only for him to walk. While he served 8 months for weapons possession in 1992, Samantha and Jazmine had to die for Napper to see lasting consequences.
At last, the police had Robert Napper in their sights.
Even then, many overlooked his involvement with Nickell's death. A few suspected Napper, interviewing him about Nickell, yet most failed to see the evidence signs.
We all grow up with that warning not to go into the woods. For the darkness, for monsters, for the danger. But it's not a fairy tale. There is true evil in this world.
Are you familiar with the Rachel Nickell case? Let us know in those comments below.